Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Black Logic. I don't know if you guys saw the new Falcon 9 rocket ship from SpaceX, but it just took off about 10, 15 minutes ago. I was very excited. Hopefully it lands on the moon. As you all know, I kind of like space and galaxies and universes and Goldilocks zones and terraforming other planets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But nonetheless, let's get into it for this evening. Again, I love the race for innovation and advanced technology going to different worlds of the planets. But nonetheless, there have been a lot of migrants crying out about what Donald Trump has done with executive orders. And even though a lot of the executive orders are being challenged by a federal district judge, 26 executive orders were signed on January 20th of this year by President Donald Trump. 26 of those executive orders, I would like to believe it was around either 3 to 6 executive orders dealing with illegal immigration, ending birthright citizenship, causing a national emergency on the southern and northern borders so we can influx. He's already deployed 1,500 troops to the border. This is good for America. This is good for really securing our borders and having people to do the right thing and go through the legal systems that we built. There's a procedure that they must go through in order to be American citizens, in order to hold a green card, in order to come inside the country. And we should uphold that. You know how more time you have a loved one, you see a lot of these people have to make the hard decision. People have to make the hard decision. Now we see this person, we're crying, we feel bad. You know, this is a human part of us, but at the same time, you're like, well, you came over here illegally, but I'm human and you're crying out because I don't know what's waiting for you in your country, but you didn't go about this the right way. And it kind of reminds me of movies when someone has to sacrifice a loved one for the greater good of humanity, for the greater good of a large portion of people. Let's say either I save her or I save 100 people. And a lot of times you have to make that hard decision. So not that I'm being inhumane, that I'm not being sympathetic or empathetic. If you are illegally in our country, then you already broke the law. Should I shed a tear? Should I care? Because again, a lot of these recent headlines focus on the heart-wrenching images of immigrants at the southern border crying as they face detention or deportation. But the bigger question is, are these narratives clouding the fact that illegal immigration is at its core and it's illegal? Because we've seen reports from the Daily Mail, Breitbart, that these border agents are encountering over 2.5 million illegal crossings in the year 2023 alone. Just 2023, 2.5 million illegal crossings. And many of these individuals bypass the legal avenues available for entry, creating chaos at ports of entry. They totally bypass our legal system. I have a buddy, after he retired from the Army, he retired in El Paso. And we have been going to Juarez right there, some light shopping. But nonetheless, there's a process. There's an entry and exit point. On one side, you have the U.S. military, the Custom Border Patrol agents, and on the other side, you have the Mexican Federales. You have their border agents. So there is a legal pathway into the United States, and there are different points between, different states. I've seen it. So again, should we be heartfelt? Should we allow this to pull at our heartstrings? Now, DHS Security Alexandro Mayorkas have admitted that the current immigration system is overwhelmed. And there's been a lot of humanitarian concerns, and that these are really real concerns, and that there's a strain on resources and the disregard for established immigration processes that cannot be ignored. Why? We all know why. We just have to start calling a spade a spade. The reason why America is in the condition that it is today is because of the Democrats. It's because of President Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and everybody that's under them. Everybody played a part. Everybody played a part in this. We have high inflation, crime is up. We have millions of people illegal inside the country. I mean, every aspect of American life is worse after 4 years of the Democrats than it was prior to. Now, a lot of times people like to say, oh, Obama was the worst president. Now they're stating that Joe Biden is the worst president. I don't know if that matters. You get what I'm getting at? It's like we can point at who and what was the problem, but now that we've already done that, because I really don't care who was the worst president. I really don't care. Obama didn't really do anything, and Joe Biden did everything that hurt everything. But nonetheless, the solutions and how we look forward, that's the problem I have with people, that they're wishing that Donald Trump fall, that he fails at this. I'm just like, how does that make sense if America is already in shambles and he thinks what he's doing would be more beneficial for the country? Now, the people who are speaking out against him, the only relevant people that I would like give credit to, that I believe hold some weight, is maybe previous presidents, politicians who've been in Congress more than 20 years because they've seen a lot of legislation. They see how things affect the country. But some of them may be out of touch. That's why I said maybe. And other billionaires. Because I'm trying to figure out who can relate to Trump and who may understand him. Because at first he was a businessman who had to learn a lot about politics. He may not still even know as much he thinks or believes he knows, or he should knows. But these are the only people I really hold weight to, but not just people thinking that he's making the wrong decisions. How do we know? I don't recall the last time I was a billionaire. You see what's going on here? They're getting inside of our, now, anyone knows this. Anyone knows that, you know, if you climbing a fence, you're being somewhere you don't belong. It's just in you that you're climbing a fence, and you know what that fence is for. Should we care if illegal immigrants are crying, where we have other illegal immigrants? Okay, we have other illegal immigrants who are getting over here however they choose. Because illegal immigration places immense pressure on American communities, especially those border states. And there was an article, I believe I read recently from Breitbart, that highlighted how the cost of providing healthcare, housing, and education for illegal immigrants reaches billions of dollars annually, because Texas spends an estimated $850 million per year on illegal immigrants and those related expenses. And as I stated before, border towns like El Paso have declared emergencies due to the influx of migrants, with shelters and resources at capacities. And a lot of the residents, a lot of people that live there, report increased crime and job competition, leaving many questioning sustainable of border policies. Why do you believe that a lot of Hispanic people voted for Donald Trump? Let me ask again. Why do you believe that a lot of Hispanic people voted for Donald Trump? Because those Hispanic people were American citizens. And believe it or not, a lot of those American citizens probably been here at least 2 or 3 generations. So illegal immigrants have hurt people legally in El Paso who are probably from the same cities, townships. They have the same culture, because they see how it's hurting them, let alone the other states that a lot of these illegal immigrants have migrated to after entering the country illegally. And of course, a lot of people are arguing that the U.S. immigration system is too slow. No, it's as long as it needs to be until technology advancements come, the immigration process is as fast as it needs to be. Because if we can't vet you, then you can't come in. And there's a pecking order and there's a line, meaning that we take numbers as they come. Because we're so backed up, we don't have enough people because the amount of people trying to come into America, you're going to have to wait. I have a buddy right now who's married to a Mexican citizen. Okay, I have a buddy right now who's married to a Mexican citizen. He lives in El Paso. She lives in Juarez, and he has to wait 2 years. And they're married. They got married right there on the border, and they have to wait 2 years for this process to take place. Because illegal immigration processing times, believe it or not, has dropped by 15% due to recent reforms by the Biden administration. That has proven that the system is, this kind of proves that the system is improving. However, the Biden administration was doing this to have a faster voting base to increase the pathway to citizenship. That is my belief. I really believe that this was a scam of the Democrats as Black people started to shift more conservative, to shift more Republican, ever so slightly, enough to affect the Democrats' power base. Because again, the Democrats know without the Black American vote, they would not be in power. So they're like, well, Black Americans are turning more conservative, which they used to be, and they're waking up to our game that we promised them and we fearmonger them to not vote for the Republicans. But that's probably the best thing they should do. This is my conjecture. Because why keep fooling the base and never give them nothing? And then once we realize that, like, well, at least the Republicans going to do something that's going to benefit the entire country. So let's go ahead and vote that. Or you know what? We just won't vote at all. How about that? You're going to blame us anyway. And that's why I'm hoping that the country is great. Not again, but the country turns out to be great. And this is more so not supporting a particular man, but these are supporting a lot of policies that I see the benefit in. And no one's looking at the big picture. The United States has one of the most accessible legal immigration systems in the world because over 800,000 individuals become naturalized in the U.S. And that was in 2022 alone, demonstrating that it's very possible to achieve the American dream through these legal avenues that people state that it takes so long. There's been a constant debate. There's been a constant debate over immigration for a very long time. That illegal immigration has become a political tug of war with some politicians calling for open borders while others push for stricter enforcements. Because when Biden was in office, he faced a lot of criticism from both sides of the aisle for handling of the border crisis. From both sides, like Democrats, like, you're doing a horrible job at securing the border. Like, we have child trafficking. We have people dying at the border. The border is unsafe. We have coyotes smuggling people inside the country. We have gangs. We have cartels. We have prostitution. The border has become very dangerous because of the slack in the open border policies of the Biden and Kamala Harris presidency. And there's been, some governors, Governor Abbott, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, and they've implemented very strict measures to deter illegal immigrants from coming to their border. Laws that also include, which I liked about this, I cannot believe Governor DeSantis even did this, because usually this is a double-sided sword. Politicians pretend like they're going to close the border, but they know that their rich friends are hiring a lot of the illegal immigrants, so they allow it, but they don't allow it. But when Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed this executive order, he passed this bill, and It was dealing with targeting businesses that hire illegal immigrants. That he was going to target businesses that hire illegal immigrants. And the only thing I can do was clap. Because I've been saying that for years. We're going after illegal immigrants, but they're being incentivized by businesses who are hiring them. And it's very clear that our system is broken. But the solution is not to ignore the law, is to improve it. So when I see people crying, there's been plenty of people crying that went to jail, that went to prison, that's on death row, that committed the crime. And that's what this is. And they're continuing to do so. Now, have you guys heard about this senator who essentially proposed a bill? Okay. He proposed a bill to allow Donald Trump to run for a third term. And again, this is one of those legal matters, and I'm no lawyer. I'm not to adapt in legalese, but I can do a compare and contrast. Because if we look at the 22nd Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, and following Franklin D. Roosevelt's unprecedented 4 terms as president, remember Franklin D. Roosevelt? He did 4 terms as president. It proposes was clear to prevent any one individual from consolidating power by serving more than 2 terms. Do you guys recall what that amendment stated? It says, no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. And I know a lot of people are asking, what does that essentially mean? Well, that amendment explicitly caps any president service to 2 terms or 10 years total. That's what that means. You can't do no more than 2 terms or 10 years total, because essentially if you take up for a president after 2 years, you're going to do 2 years and you run and you win 2 consecutive years, and that'll be 10 years. So you can only be president for 2 terms or 10 years. But we have Representative Ogles, his proposal to amend this amendment, in my opinion, raises constitutional concerns and questions, because it fundamentally seeks to undo a lot of the 2-year term limits. This guy right here, out of Tennessee, go figure that. Go figure out of Tennessee. The state of the KKK, FYI. Now, under the current 22nd Amendment, Donald Trump is ineligible to run for a third term because he has already served 2 terms as president, 2017 to 2021, and the current presidency, correct? Now, he's stating that Trump could legally run for a non-consecutive, listen to this, a non-consecutive, meaning not all in a row. He did one, broke some time, won another one, so he can essentially do one more because it wasn't consecutive. That's not what the Constitution states. But that's what he's stating. And that the provision restricting more than 2 consecutive terms is the loophole that would allow Trump to return. So let's look what he said. Can we look at what he said? Now, I want to make sure you guys can see this. I think you guys can see this, but it states here, no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than 3 times. This is what Representative Ogles is proposing. Nor be elected to any additional term after being elected to 2 consecutive terms, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. Basically, what he's saying is that Donald Trump can run for a 3rd term, but President Obama can't, because President Obama served 2 consecutive terms. You see that? You see how he's exploiting what may be a possible loophole? And it really retroactively benefits a specific individual, and this is Trump, because it's setting a precedent that could allow future amendments to be manipulated, term limits based on political convenience, and allowing presidents to return for a 3rd term, even if non-consecutive, risk creating a revolving door presidency where political figures return indefinitely, weakening stability. This can be really bad. Now and again, I know there's a lot of people who are Trump fanboys. There's a lot of people that he should just be the president until the day he dies. You're asking for communism. You're asking for a dictatorship. You're not asking for the country TIV, sweet land of liberty. You're not asking for that. You're not asking for your Second Amendment rights to be withheld so the government can never take control of the people. What do you believe happens when we start breaking the Constitution, or we start to exploit what may be possible loopholes where it says plainly in the Constitution on the 22nd Amendment that you are only to serve 2 terms, not consecutively or non-consecutively? You see that? They didn't put that verbiage in there. 2 terms, that's it. Not consecutive, non-consecutive. See, they're playing around with words here, and that's what a lot of politicians do. I pray that Donald Trump does a great job, but after his 4-year term, it's somebody else's turn, because this is the republic. We have laws and constitutions and codes of conduct that we have to abide by. We have a pledge of allegiance. And believe it or not, a constitutional amendment requires 2/3 vote in both the House of Representatives and the Senate. I don't believe it will ever get that. At least 38 states must ratify the amendment for it to take effect. There have to be a lot of hands in a cookie jar to change what Representative Ogles is trying to change. Yeah, we're not going to change the Constitution, guys. That's how you become countries like North Korea and China. And Americans, we love our freedom, as we can tell other people from other countries love our freedom too. Because America is one of the few countries, whether it be on YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever social media platform, you can have all sorts of creators and influence and broadcasters say whatever they want on their streams to a certain degree, right? When it doesn't have to deal with terroristic acts or anything that's, but you can pretty much talk about any political figure. No one's coming knocking on your door. You just can't threaten them. But you can talk about how bad they were, how incompetent they were, how stupid they are, and no one will come knock on your door, because that's American freedom. Go to North Korea and talk about Kim Jong-un. Yeah. Go to Russia and publicly talk about President Putin. I want you to. That's why we have a constitution. That's why people love America. And again, I hope President Trump does wonderful things. But we should never exalt somebody higher than the foundation and the constructs of our country. We should never do that. You guys have a great and wonderful evening. This is Black Law.